Hey, what is up, everybody? This is your boy AJ Trip, and welcome to the Game According to Me podcast. We had some issues last week, so we could not go ahead and get through with the podcast, but we are going to go ahead and continue on with this week. And this week, we're going to talk about week 14 of the National Football League. We're going to talk about our final college football rankings and the college football playoffs, the matchups and how each one looks. And then we're going to talk about the Major League hot stove, which is kind of heating up. Last year there was no hot stove league, but now there is, and we'll talk a little bit about that as well. But at first, let's go ahead and let's start off with the National Football League. We just go back to last Thursday as the Dallas Cowboys, fighting for the NFC East crown, took on the Chicago Bears, who are trying to stay in the playoff hunt. They played in Chicago, and the Chicago Bears, the score was 31-24, but the score was not as close as it looked. The Chicago Bears really did take them to the limit when it came to the Cowboys, and the Cowboys had get two or three scores in garbage time, but for the most part, it was all Bears all night. And it didn't look like that. As the first drive of the Cowboys, they went down the field and scored a touchdown. And then the Bears tried to respond by going right down the field, but Mr. Trubisky threw a pick that at the end of the goal line. The interception was intercepted at the 1 yard line. And you just thought, oh, here we go with the Bears. But they turned around, they stuck it up. And Mitch had himself tonight. This has been Mitch's best game in his 3 years, without question. It has been. So we'll see if Mitch can keep this turnaround this week as they head to Green Bay to take on the Packers. If the Bears want to win, they're going to have to win mostly all of their games. They won't be truly eliminated if they were to lose, but it looks like that they are going to have to win everything and hope that Minnesota and the Rams lose a few games as well. But yeah, that started off the week in football, and there was some interesting games. We had two teams, in the Ravens and the Bills played, and it was we saw that game. I watched that game. It was not that much of a pretty affair, but when you have two good defenses like that and two young quarterbacks, still not, even though they've played well, they're still not established quarterbacks. You're going to get that defensive struggle. We had a shocking upset with the Broncos beating the Texans. At one point, at halftime, it was 31-3, the Broncos. They ended up winning 38-24. Now that's just a bad look for the Texans, because now the Tennessee Titans, who have been on a roll, they beat the Raiders 42-21, and now they have an opportunity to step up and not only make the playoffs with the wild card, but they actually have a chance to step up and win the division, take the division from the Texans. It looked like this division was going to be the Texans all the way through, but now Tennessee has the opportunity to step up and take it from them. So that could be very, very interesting. We also had the game of the day was probably the 49ers and the Saints, and it was a shootout from the start. And it ended up with a 48-46 victory for the 49ers. Some great plays, some great play calls. There's two great teams going at it. I think that's what you'd like to see when it comes to football. There's two great teams coming at it, and that's what happened. Jimmy Garoppolo, he stepped up. He hung tough with the Hall of Famer Drew Brees. And all in all, I thought it was a very, very good. I saw the end of that game once. They went from the Panthers and the Falcons. Once that went final, they went to the Saints and the 49ers, and we saw the end of that. We saw the fourth down play from George Kittle, who was becoming maybe the second best tight end behind Travis Kelce in this league. And then there was a face mask on that one, and then of course you have Robbie Good as Gold. It was good as gold, and they had a victory. And there was some play calls, some coaching decisions. Did Sean Payton really need to go for two so early? That's It's neither here nor there, but I don't think it cost them the game. Um, the Chiefs beat the Patriots in Foxborough. It's the first time the Patriots have lost in several years in Foxborough. It's the first time under Bill Belichick's watch that the quarterback under the age of 25 beat the New England Patriots. So uh, that was interesting. We'll see how that plays into everything as well. How that plays into the three teams that have beat the Patriots are the Ravens, the Texans, and the Chiefs. Probably the three teams that could beat them in the playoffs. However, I think the Patriots still have a better record than the Chiefs and the Texans. Um, right now, but the Bills have a better record, so they still would have to go to Foxborough. And really, when you look at that game, even though the Chiefs won, there were obviously some calls that were not made. The Travis Kelce fumble that was stopped early, and really they need to really stop that. They need to swallow the whistle, and they need to let the play continue on. If you see a person, um, pick up obviously pick the ball and start running, even though you may think it's down by contact, just let him go with it. Let him go with it, because at the end of that point, you know, at the end of that point, the review kicks in, and it's automatic review, and then not only does the Patriots wouldn't have to use a challenge on that play to get the ball back, but the Patriots could have scored a touchdown. They could have turned the entire game around, and they needed a challenge later for when N'Keal Harry scored a touchdown. He was called out of bounds, and he wasn't out of bounds. So, yeah, they really need to swallow the whistles more. And Jerome Boger's crew is pretty much awful, as a lot of people have said. So, um, yeah, and then we had on Monday Night Football we had or Sunday Night Football. Excuse me, Monday Night Football game was actually not that interesting. Only to the fact that you could have had the Giants. The Giants could have beat the Eagles, and the Eagles could not have taken advantage of what the Cowboys have done over the last couple of weeks, and with losing to on Thanksgiving to the Bills, and then Thursday to the Bears, but Eagles did win, so I think they're now both teams are under 500, but I think they're both tied for first place. But on Sunday Night Football, the Rams shocked the world, and they beat the Seahawks. And one of the things that I think has changed for the Rams is that one of the reasons why they wasn't giving the ball to Todd Gurley was they wanted to give the ball to him now, down the stretch, and that's what they're doing. They're giving him the ball now. They're doing play action pass. Jared Goff, still throwing interceptions. Is also making some good passes as well. And they beat the Seahawks 28-12 and took the Seahawks down. So, and I think that leaves the 49ers as the number one seed. Basically by beating the Packers and the Saints, and then they're gonna play the Seahawks later. That's gonna be the real battle, I think, for the number one seed. And the 49ers beat the Seahawks, and if they can, then I think that's gonna be real. But otherwise, it's like I said earlier, that Rams did not help the Bears cause. They need the Rams to lose a few games after the Rams, because the Rams would have the tiebreaker over the Bears because of a couple nights ago on Sunday Night Football when the Rams beat the Bears. But the Rams are trying to get into that last spot as well. They're hoping for a Vikings collapse or somebody else's collapse. Because it looks like right now the seeds, the 5 seeds are pretty much tight, because the Seahawks, the 49ers, the Packers, well, maybe not necessarily the Packers, the Saints. Because I think it would be the Packers or the Vikings. Either one of those teams are going to win the division, and the other team has a shot to make to be into sixth seed, but if they one of those teams have collapsed, and the teams the Rams, in particular the Rams and the Bears, and they keep winning, they could have the opportunity to jump in there and actually take that sixth spot. But and then of course you've got the NFC East with the Cowboys and the Eagles and what they're doing. So and over in the AFC, like we said, we've got the Ravens, we got the Patriots, we've got um, the Texans, and who am I forgetting? Ravens, Patriots, Ravens North, Patriots East, Texans South, and the Chiefs. The Chiefs I think the Chiefs actually by defeating the Patriots and the Raiders lost, and the loss for the Raiders to the Titans, they won the NFC West. So they actually won the NFC West. And then you got the Buffalo Bills who are in the spot. They've been really good. And then you got Pittsburgh, which surprisingly they beat the Cardinals this week. But with the Big Ben injury and all of the other things that have been going on with this team, for this team to be 8-5 and in the thick of things in the wild card spot, that's amazing. And it's one of the reasons why people are saying that even though John Harbaugh is doing so good with the Ravens, and there's Sean McDermott with the Bills, and a lot of other coaches who are doing really, really well. Not Mike Shanahan, Kyle Shanahan with the 49ers and other things like that. That Mike Tomlin might be actually the coach of the year for what he's done with the quote unquote little that he has in Pittsburgh. So they're in the playoffs, and then you have the Titans. With their winning streak, they are a part of the wild card spot. They're also part in the division with the Texans, and I think the coach are also there, but they're more of an outside shot. They've lost some games, so they are definitely on the outside looking in. But I think it's more amazing that the Titans have the main thing. They're the main team trying to jump into that playoff spot. So as we go ahead and look towards this week, like I said, we've got some interesting games. We got the Bears and Packers. That's going to be a good game. Let's talk about the NFC North, and also how does that affect the way other teams look at in the standings for spot the 1, 2, and 3 seeds. Because we know the fourth seed is going to the NFC least champion. So there are some spots about that. Come on, computer. Come on. Yeah. So the Bills and the Patriots are going to be a very no. Actually, the Patriots playing the Bengals, and that's been a big story, right? With the Patriots guys filming the Bengals apparently in the Cleveland Browns suites. I just don't know what the Patriots are doing. They it looks like that they're trying to cheat and they continue to get caught, and I have no idea why. It is the way it is, why they are doing this. So, but whatever. They are continuing to get caught. The Texans and the Titans are going to play. That's going to be an interesting theory. I think the Titans continue on their streak, and they're playing at home against the Texans. But can the Texans battle back from a disappointing loss to the Broncos this week and take full control of that division? That's going to be a game to watch. You got the Rams and the Cowboys again. Here we are. We're talking about the Rams. They're hoping somebody slips and they continue on and they can jump into the wild card picture. The Cowboys are trying to maintain maintain whatever stranglehold they have on the NFC East. So that could be interesting. We've got on Sunday Night Football, we've got the Bills and the Steelers. That was flexed in. That looks to be a very interesting matchup for the first time since 2006. The Bills on Sunday Night Football, and like we just talked about with the Steelers, they need to continue on because the Titans are right behind them on their on their backside. We got tomorrow night. We've got the Jets and the Ravens, and the Lamar Jackson has a bit of a hamstring. So there's a part that's saying, well, it's the Jets, right? And maybe you should sit Lamar Jackson, but there's another part that says, well, hey, you can't, you shouldn't just take the Jets lightly. They did beat um, several teams this year. It's not like that. This is a bad team. Well, I guess it is a bad team. They have a bad record, but this isn't like a pushover. This isn't Alabama facing Wofford. You know, this is a professional team. They get paid too. And Lamar Jackson has said that he was going to play, so we'll see what happens tomorrow night with that. The Colts and the Saints could be a good Monday Night Football game. There's some interesting games that are happening this week, and a lot of games affecting what could happen in the playoffs in some form or fashion. There are some games that won't, but there are some games that will. So we'll have to look and see how each game plays out. Let's talk about the final rankings of the college football playoffs, and of course, championship Saturday. We had LSU versus Georgia in the SEC game. LSU pretty much beat down Georgia, putting them in the #1 spot from the committee. Ohio State had a little bit of trouble with Wisconsin. Wisconsin had a lead at halftime, but Ohio State had a difficult time with Wisconsin. Wisconsin had a lead at halftime, but Ohio State came back to win the game. They're the #2 seed. Clemson just beat down Virginia. They stayed at #3. And with Georgia losing, it came down to Friday's game between Utah and Oregon. Oregon put a beat down on Utah. And then Saturday, Oklahoma and Baylor. There's the Big 12 championship game, and Oklahoma beat Baylor. So they put Oklahoma in the #4 spot, meaning that we got the college football playoff of LSU, Ohio State, Clemson, and Oklahoma. LSU playing Oklahoma in the semifinal, and then Ohio State and Clemson playing in the semifinal, and then the two winners obviously meeting on January 14th for the national championship. So yeah, and let's finish off the top 25, shall we? Georgia ended up at 5, Oregon at 6, Baylor at 7, Wisconsin at 8, Florida at 9, Penn State at 10, Utah at 11, Auburn at 12, Alabama at 13, Michigan at 14, Notre Dame at 15, Iowa at 16, Memphis at 17, Minnesota at 18, Boise State at 19, Appalachian State at 20, Cincinnati at 21, USC at 22, Navy at 23, Virginia at 24, and Oklahoma State at 25. But let's focus on, of course, the top 4 that actually who are in the playoff. We have LSU versus Oklahoma happening, and to me, even though I believe that Oklahoma's defense has been a lot better than it has been in the past, I don't think their defense is as good as Georgia, and LSU put a beat down on Georgia in the SEC championship game. Now, there's going to be two or 3 weeks before they go ahead and they get everything to get everything together, before they compete against each other. So they could have some schemes. They could come up with some schemes and defense to try to stop LSU, but I don't see it happening. So I think right now, for me, LSU is going to win that first game against Oklahoma. And then we have Ohio State and Clemson. And, I think Clemson has, they're playing their disrespect card. They're not getting enough respect as they should. But I think a lot of times, these teams should, stop playing Wofford and stop playing these other tomato cans. Now listen, the teams you play in the ACC, if you destroy them, it's not what it is. What it is, right? If you destroy them, you destroy them. But the non-conference teams are, you can change that, and you should change it. Why are you playing FCS teams? You're motherfucking Clemson, and you're playing Wofford. and all these other teams, and that's just ridiculous. So, and Ohio State has done it in the past too. You know, I don't think they played an FCS team this season, but they played some pretty bad Division One teams, FBS teams. So that being said, I think Ohio State is a really good team. I think Clemson is a really good team. I think Clemson is playing the best they have all season long. The last 4 or 5 games, they just have just blown out the teams that they should be doing. Um, so yeah, I'm gonna pick Clemson for that one, and I'm gonna say that Clemson beats Ohio State in the second semifinal, leading to the national championship game between LSU and Clemson. I think that's gonna be a doozy. I think that's gonna be so fun to watch. Two high-powered offenses, two really extremely good quarterbacks, and Trevor Lawrence and Joe Burrow. And I think by that time Joe Burrow will well, more than that time because the Heisman is actually this Saturday. So I think I'll give my thoughts on that in a second. Um, but we have um, but yes, I think Joe Burrow and LSU. You're just I think this is going to be one of those games where it's going to really come down to who has the ball last. I don't know. I think LSU has a pretty good defense and they can maybe stop Clemson, but I also think that stopping Clemson could just be keeping them out of the end zone. They still may score. They still may kick field goals. And I think it's absolutely the same could be for Clemson with LSU. Stopping them means that they don't score touchdowns, but they kick field goals. So it could be one of those big time games, but I'm gonna go ahead and go LSU wins and LSU becomes the national championship. And old coach Ed Orgeron um, comes home and takes LSU to the national championship. And Joe Burrow comes from Ohio State, comes down to LSU, and he wins the national championship for LSU. A lot of good stories happening for the LSU Tigers. So and that's how I see things playing out. As for this weekend, the Heisman Trophy, the four finalists were Jalen Hurts, were Justin Fields, it was Chase Young, and it was Joe Burrow. And all of them had fantastic years. And any other year, any one of those other players could win, including Chase Young being a defensive player. But I think without question, the winner will be Joe Burrow, and I think he'll be the 2019 Heisman Trophy winner. Hot Stove League, and it's actually now it actually has been Hot Stove as of late. The last couple of years it hasn't been a hot stove; it's been a very cold stove. But we've had some moves happen in the last week or two. Most recently, last night we had Garrett Cole going from the Houston Astros to the Yankees. He signed a 9-year, or at least he agreed to a 9-year, $324 million contract. That broke Steven Strasburg's deal that he had recently signed when he re-signed with the Washington Nationals the other day. So that's a big deal. So it's a big deal. I think he has an opt out after 5 years, but I would doubt he would opt out. With a 9-year deal. Because he's probably more likely after 5 years he won't be the pitcher that he is now. He won't be better. He'll be a little bit worse. So he'll probably stay on in that deal. There's a lot of other things like Didi Gregorius. He went from the Yankees to the Phillies on a 1-year deal. He's gonna night with Joe Girardi, the former manager from the Yankees, who is now in Philly. Um, he's got a lot of things. The Angels, they traded Zach Cozart to the Giants. They were trying to get Cole and Anthony Rendon, who's still out there. Of course, obviously they didn't get Cole. And there was some other things as well. Like we talked about Steven Strasburg re-signing with the Washington Nationals, 7-year, $245 million deal. It was the richest contract for a pitcher until Cole did last night. And then I think the first signing was actually the White Sox. He signed Yasmani Grandal to a contract last week before Thanksgiving. So the hot stove leave is now actually being in hot stove leave this year. So that's very good because the last couple of years it hasn't been hot stove leave, and there's been some talk about there being like some collusion, the collusion for with the owners not wanting to sign players because really the first signings didn't happen until the new year and almost until spring training happened when those signings happen. So um, there's a lot of talk about collusion, but we obviously have some signings happening now. So um, we'll see if the collusion talk still pops up because maybe no one will sign now, back until thing, especially if Anthony Rendon still doesn't get signed. Dallas Keuchel is still out there. There's still not a big time free agent still out there. Madison Bumgarner. And so we'll have to see where they end up over the next weeks, maybe even months. But right now, the hot stove league does seem to be very, very hot. Strasburg and Cole within 37 hours of each other, signing the richest deal for pitchers. Pretty interesting. Really, some minor stories. Um, we had a controversy in the NBA with the Rockets and the Spurs, and a basket that was not called a basket from James Harden, and the Rockets wanted to protest it. They wanted to have they wanted to have the game awarded to the Rockets, or they wanted to have it started back over, played it later day, started back over. NBA said no. A mistake was made, but you got to deal with it. So nothing like that, and that's been ridiculous. We might have to talk about James Harden at one point because with what he's doing in the NBA, he's averaging almost 38 points a game. It'd be the first time since Michael Jordan where somebody had averaged over 37 points a game for a season if he continues with this. But then there's a question of whether or not this is actually good for the NBA because he's not being efficient while doing this. There's a lot of games that he's having where you know, he's like, you know, 15 for 46 or something like that. He's taking all of these shots and he's not being, effective with it. He's scoring 60 points, but he's shooting 28% from the field. And there's a lot of talk about is this really good for the NBA? So we may have to talk about that at one point. We really at one point should talk about Luka Doncic and what he's doing because what he's doing is actually really really good. He's the first person since Michael Jordan to have I think it's been 20 consecutive games of 20 points, 5 rebounds, and 5 assists. That's a little bit more, and he's doing it in a lot better way than James Harden is. So. And Giannis is still Giannis. So a lot of good stories in the NBA. We need to, with now college football letting down, even though they're going to turn into the bowl season, um, we'll have to talk more about um, we'll have to talk more about the NBA in the upcoming weeks. And again, like I said, once the football season ends, I don't know what I'm going to do. I don't know if I'm going to go back to doing this every other week or continue doing it continue doing it every week or something like that, something like so. But I'll try to figure all of that out. This weekend is TLC. I'm gonna try and find a stream online to watch it with, and hopefully I will be able to do a rapid reaction for it, things like that. And I will do a WWE Awards video later on this year as well. So make sure you guys are here. You guys go to my YouTube channel, AJ Trip, and search for that and subscribe to it. Click the notification bell so that you can figure out when I'm gonna do. I'll let you know when I do the WWE Awards, and we can all have fun like that. In fact, what I actually may even do is I may do something where I will not only video record it, but I will also take the audio from it and may upload the audio. So I might do that so that you guys on the podcast can hear it. I might do that. Yeah, I think that's something I can do. I think that's actually something I can do. Yeah, so I actually think that's pretty much it. Actually, no. There's one more thing. Sports Illustrated has come out with their person person of the year, sportsman of the year, and it's Megan Rapinoe, um, one of one of the stars of the U.S. women's soccer team this year. Um, she really had a fantastic year, and kudos to her. Um, and it's very very interesting. Also very interesting who was the Time Person of the Year. I know this isn't sports, but it was that Greta Thunberg, the girl who was like from Sweden and who was screaming at the people, like at the UN or something like that. So, um, but anyway, yeah. So Megan Rapinoe ended up being the Sports Illustrated Sports Person of the Year. So again, congratulations to her. Her and the women's soccer team did have a great run. They won another World Cup, and um, they're also still continuing their battle for equal pay. So shout out to Megan Rapinoe, wherever she is. So yeah, that's gonna be the end of this podcast. Again, hopefully nothing happens, and we'll all be able to come back with the next episode next week. And next week we'll probably talk more about football. We'll probably bring if I can catch TLC, we'll talk about TLC, and we'll see what else happens in the world of Major League Baseball, Hot Stove League, and NBA. Probably won't talk about college football because that's we may go over some of the bowl games actually, some of the more intriguing bowl games. We may do that. All right. Thank you guys so much for watching, and we're not watching. You're listening. I said that a lot. But thank you guys so much for listening. Make sure you click all the description links in the description down below. If you are if you are listening on Anchor or if you're listening on any other place, you can go and you like what you hear, you can subscribe. You can be a 99-cent subscriber, a $4.99 subscriber, or a $9.99 subscriber to this podcast, and help me out in ways that you can. But it doesn't matter. Any little bit helps. But just the fact that you want to subscribe to my podcast would be an honor for me, and I would appreciate that a lot. So thank you. So thank you for listening. Thank you for subscribing. If you do, thank you for doing everything that you can to support me. I appreciate anything that you do. I will see you guys next week. As always, be good to each other, y'all. Be careful out there. And I am out.